Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. My name is John Green. I'm the manager of the AFC Wimbledon Wimbly Womblys, who today find themselves back in the FA Cup against mighty Crawley Town. We're still not filling the stadium, but that might be partly due to the fact that in a stunning turn of events it is raining in England, but because it is so cold, that rain is coming down as snow. However, there are many AFC Wimbly Wombly supporters who are in the stands nonetheless, supporting their club in the freezing, miserable cold. And other John Green, because he is tough as balls, is going without long sleeves, because that's how he does. All right. Today we're going to talk about the top three. The top three, almost a goal right off the bat. Top three scandals of 2013, according to Time Magazine. Meredith, what are they? Oh, Paula Deen used a racist slur, several racist slurs actually, and told a bunch of racist jokes. I mean, I didn't follow this story that closely, but there's one thing that really struck me in her like testimony or affidavit or whatever. The question was, did you ever use the N-word, which I'm not going to say, and her answer was, of course. And like I think she was trying to be trying to sound like defensive or saying like, everyone used that word or whatever. But like, we still live in a world where, of course, is even a plausible answer to that question is pretty stunning to me. So, yeah, I mean, I think, race is still like a tremendously important and problematic part of the United States. It's one of the ways that privilege really does stand in the way of like what we say is the American dream of equal opportunity and equal access to educational opportunities and social and political engagement. I think, yeah, it's just one more example of how far away we actually are from those values that we hold so close to us and think of as like foundational to America, but in fact like are not our current values. It's a penalty. It's a penalty. Has to be. It's offside. How am I always offside? Ball John Green just does not have great tactical awareness these days. He'll get better. He's young. He's just starting out. He just got off the TARDIS. He's confused. He's a little bit lost at times. Just like any other Time Lord. All right, what was the number 2 scandal of 2013 according to Time Magazine? Oh boy, I'll tell you what would be scandalous: giving up a goal to Crawley Town. What was it? Anthony Weiner, was that this year? Oh yeah, because he was running for mayor. Oh right, and he used the name Carlos Danger, which I just feel terrible for the guy. I mean, who doesn't want to have a second life as Carlos Danger. In my last video, I talked about the sort of how the patriarchy can be really destructive for women, but I think this is an example of when the patriarchy is like also destructive for everyone, because there's this Oh, it's got to be tackled. What? Did I get fouled? I got fouled. Something was wrong. Something was criminal there. Oh, that was Hell's Pells. Yeah, what? He got tackled? I agree. He did get... That was a bad finish. Oh, they called me for a foul? What, for being good-looking? For having the nickname Hell's Pells? I think, like, we have a very strange... Like, our weird relationship with sex and sexuality is really problematic. And the obsession with it, I mean, clearly, like, Anthony Weiner is a guy... Seb Brown? Thank you, sir. Clearly, Anthony Weiner is a guy who, like, if that's part of his marriage, and it's not hurting anybody, then it's fine. If it's not part of his marriage, then, like, that's an issue, and like, but it's a private issue. The total fascination with this stuff, the obsession with it, seems to me like really ultimately a function of like our need to continue to find ways to say that like sexuality, particularly the sexuality of women or sort of like non-traditional sexualities, are not okay. And I don't know. I find that pretty problematic, particularly when it comes to something like, I mean, that said, obviously, it ruined your first career, and then you let it ruin your second career. It's pretty obvious that he has sort of an obsessive compulsive need to engage in this particular kind of like sexual behavior, and I don't know. Then I always I feel kind of, I don't know. I feel bad for everyone involved. It's just sort of embarrassing, and like, if it is part, like if it's cool with, if it's like part of their marriage and it's cool and it's not an issue for his spouse, like I feel kind of bad for her because she's like put in this weird position of being like, I don't know. The whole thing is just awkward and weird, and like, generally, I wish that people's like private sexual lives were allowed to stay like private and sexual instead of having to be like public and political. What was the number one scandal of 2013? Was it also a sex scandal? I'm going to guess that it was. Oh, Manti Te'o. I have a lot of strong opinions about this because I had a fake girlfriend. And my good friend Dean also had a fake girlfriend in the early days of the internet. And everyone who says that Manti Te'o couldn't possibly have had a fake girlfriend, I think they're just wrong. I think they just like don't understand what it's like to be um, young. And so the first thing that I would say is that I think a lot of people associate men, young men, especially like football players or people who like, like quote unquote, like could get laid whenever they want, which I think is such a, I don't really agree with that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't really agree with that worldview. Like, I don't think that's the way sex works for guys, or at least for most guys. Obviously, I can't make generalizations, but I think it's kind of I think there's this idea that young men are extremely sexually confident and experienced, particularly if they're the kind of young men who, for instance, are football stars. And there's probably some truth to that stereotype. Like, I think probably a lot of guys are sexually experienced and confident. But I also think there's a lot of guys. The two things that I would say is, A, there's a lot of guys who are sexually confident, who shouldn't be, and or else like their sexual confidence like falls away in the face of like any kind of real interaction with another human. And then there are a lot of people who just don't fit that mold, who don't have a lot of experience and don't have a lot of confidence and don't have and for whom sex itself may not be the most important part of a romantic relationship. And that doesn't mean that those people aren't good at football, or that they can't be. Like, it's strange to me that we think that the only way to be good at football is to be a very sexual person, because football as a game, it's just a bunch of dudes tackling each other. It has absolutely nothing to do with what your sexual orientation is or whether you're a sexual person or not. And so I just think like he had a relationship, and it was a real relationship. It just turned out that it was a relationship with a person who didn't exist, but like he experienced it as real. And I maybe I'm wrong, but I have absolutely every confidence that he experienced it as real. And that it wasn't some kind of it wasn't some kind of game or some attempt to hide something about his sexuality or anything like that. Like, I think he had a relationship with a person who turned out not to be the person they were claiming to be. And in the world of like virtual romantic and sexual relationships, or non-physical, I should say, romantic and sexual relationships, like, that's a thing that can happen. But it is also a thing that can happen in the world of physical sexual and romantic relationships. All the time people turn out not to be who they said they were. All the time you discover after dating someone for a while that they haven't been honest about something that's important to you. Like, that happens all the time. It's not like there's something new about being conned in a romantic relationship. Like, did you ever see the movie Dirty Rotten Scoundrels from the 80s that starred Steve Martin? Like, that's what that's about. Like, it's been happening for all of human history. And like, the idea that somehow like the internet is responsible for this is just to me like ludicrous. Oh God! Should have passed. Should have passed. Should have turned in that situation to other John Green, because other John Green is a finisher, and whoever had the ball there clearly isn't. Meredith, who is number 21? He should be fired. In fact, he's going to be substituted out right now. It's important that it's important that sometimes you make a statement to your players that it's not okay. Oh, their numbers aren't on here, so I don't know. I don't know. Oh, because it's number 12, not number 21. Oh no, no, yeah, it's Porter. Thank you, Meredith. Sorry, sorry, I'm not very good at this game. Thank God for Meredith. That's all I can say. I think we all know that Yabamba would have scored that 10 times out of 10. I'm also gonna take out some more because he seems tired, and I'm gonna bring on P. Sweeney. And the John Greens are exhausted, but they remain our best chance for a goal. So we're gonna keep them in. It's a little bit of a frustrating game here at AFC Wimbledon. So again, maybe I'm wrong. Like I certainly don't want to claim to be an expert in the field or anything like that, but um, I don't think that it's unrealistic, and I don't think that it's all that uncommon that like people that you're in a romantic or sexual relationship with aren't honest with you. And I think like blaming the internet for that is, or saying like, oh, it wasn't a real relationship because it occurred on the internet. Well, like, does that mean it's not a real relationship if you have a physical relationship with someone and it turns out to have been based on some lies? Like, of course it's still real. So I just think it's, I, I think that it's a result of the world in which the story happened. I think if the same story had happened to a movie star, for instance, it would have been a very different kind of narrative than the fact that it happened to this football player who's supposed to meet these arbitrary definitions of, oh, Fran Combe is injured. Oh, and time to bring on St. Luce. Well, I'm glad I didn't make that third substitution because otherwise would have been really bad. Did it say that he had a torn right calf? That's a worrisome injury. I don't think you tear. Oh boy, he's definitely got a big limp. It's a little scary, but we've got Yabamba. Look at Yabamba. They say he's not that good, but oh, he did get dispossessed there. But that's better than better than what our other central midfielder did, which was just pass directly to the other team. We are not, listen, we're struggling to come into ourselves. We're a young team. We, on paper, we're one of the least talented teams in League Two. So the fact that we're at the top of the league at all is great. But I'm a little worried for the future of the Wimbly Womblys. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm a little worried. What's it going to look like, really, when we find ourselves in a few months, hopefully in League One? That's going to be intimidating. So the Manti Te'o thing, I just think, I don't know. I'm interested to read your comments about this because I have great sympathy for him, and I can imagine. Look, I was embarrassed when this happened to me, and it didn't happen in front of millions and millions of people. Oh, it's a 0-0 draw. Oh, the FA Cup continues to be a struggle for the Wimbly Womblys. But I think we're going to get a replay here. But I'm going to double check because last time it was a surprise overtime. So let's just double check. Let's just go to the end here. And match facts. Yep. All right. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry that I couldn't beat Crawley Town. I don't know what my problem is. Best wishes.